Yo, how's it going, everybody? It's MacklinGaming, and today I'm back with another top 5 video for you. This one is about my top 5 Nintendo 64 games of all time. Now, the Nintendo 64 was my childhood console. It's the console, I grew up with in the 90s, and it had so many legendary games that got me started on it all. Not only was the console big for me as a kid when I was like 7, 8, 9 years old, but it was also huge in high school. Like, it was a little bit retro at that point. The GameCube was out and all that. But, me and my friends were still playing on the N64. Pretty much all my friends had one still in their house in like the 2000s. So, it's a console that has many memories over like different periods of my life. But today I'm going to give you my top 5 list of what I think are the best Nintendo 64 games. And to get started, we're going to do the honorable mention. So this is really like game number 6. I didn't want to pick it because I didn't want to have 2 games from the same franchise in the top 5. And, there's a couple little things about it I'll get to in a second. But coming in at the honorable mention, number 6 is Majora's Mask. That game is super awesome. It's dark. It's a sad, tragic Zelda. And, it has this time loop, this like 3-day time travel loop where you have to get everything done, and you can reset time with the ocarina, and I think it's a super cool game. But there are some negatives about it. It gets really confusing, I think, with some of the side quests in like getting every single mask. There's some where you have to be like at a certain place at the right time of day on the right day, and if you don't get it, you miss it completely, and you have to play the Song of Time, start over from the first day. And so it's like really a difficult game if you don't have a guide. Like, I very much recommend using a guide. Otherwise, it takes forever to get all the masks, which is how you really like unlock the true ending and get like the sickest mask in the game. So I love all Zelda games. I'm not saying Majora's Mask is bad, but this one is going to be, number 6 all time for me. So with that being said, let's get into the top 5 Nintendo 64 games for me. Coming in at number 5, we've got Banjo-Kazooie. Yeah, this game is goofy. It's super funny. It's a great 3D platformer and adventure game. You play as a bear and his goofy bird, Kazooie. And you have to save your sister who got captured from this witch, Gruntilda. And so you're pretty much in Gruntilda's lair, like the witch's castle, the whole game. And it has this nice hub world, and you can branch out into other worlds, like the actual levels of the game from there. And it's a big like collect-a-thon. You have a lot of like music note pieces to collect, jigsaw puzzles to collect, and all these things. So it's a big collectible 3D platforming adventure game. Great music. Great sense of humor. Like the dialogue when people are talking, it's like goofy little voice acting sound effects. It's not actual voice acting, but the whole thing is like got a really trippy, like, there's like carrots attacking you with eyeballs. There's like you can turn your bear into a walrus and like hop around. There's crazy stuff going on in this game. And I just have a really good time trying to 100% collect everything in each world before moving on and finally, rescuing Banjo's sister at the end. So it's an awesome game. Highly recommend Banjo-Kazooie, the first one. And that's why it comes in at number 5. All right, so here we are at number 4. And probably time to mention that there were some really dope multiplayer games on the Nintendo 64 that I have great memories with my friends playing. All right, coming in at number 4. Now, it's probably time for me to mention that there were some amazing multiplayer games on the Nintendo 64 that me and my friends would play and have great memories of playing, and even into high school, like really goofy matches. So with that, my first multiplayer game on my list is Mario Kart 64. That's a pretty sick game. You have awesome music again. I'm going to talk about music in a lot of these games, really. You've got this really interesting, first take at 3D Mario Kart, where like if you look closely, all the characters and the go-karts are like 2D sprites, but they move around in this 3D map, and there's nice little like tours to do, which are like 4 courses each. This was like my introduction to Mario Kart. I didn't play on the Super Nintendo or anything. I never had one. So, this was a very memorable game playing with my friends growing up, and we'd play like even in high school and have fun with it. And Mario Kart 64 for me is like, one of the best Mario Karts. I know everyone loves 8. It's been selling for like 10 years. But, for the first 3D Mario Kart, I don't think 64 is bad at all. And it's definitely one of my favorites. All right, coming in at number 3, another multiplayer banger, 007, GoldenEye. This was like all the rage back in the day. It was like one of the first-person shooters. There was Doom, but that didn't come to N64, I don't think. That was like PC more like. So this was the N64's like best first-person shooter, and this one had the best soundtrack. I mean, you had this really badass industrial, like heavy rock metal soundtrack almost, and I know it's like even meme to this day, the like pause music with the watch playing. It's got that like really chill vibe to it. So there's tons of good tracks as you're running around. It's Pierce Brosnan, James Bond, which was a great little time. I don't think everybody loves him as Bond, but he did GoldenEye, and I think it was The World Is Not Enough, and those were great Bond times for me growing up. So GoldenEye just had all the best multiplayer. Like, you could play License to Kill, which is like one shot from any weapon, you're dead, just like one shot death. And we would use throwing knives. So it would be like throwing knives, License to Kill. Everyone's just running around whipping knives at each other. You had the golden gun modes. So GoldenEye was just a great multiplayer, and it even had a great campaign. The levels, going through the levels at different difficulties. You can unlock some like secret levels at the end. It was like super hard for me as a kid. I was like, how do you get that like temple level at the end? So it was really a fun game, and it's remembered to this day. So GoldenEye coming in at number 3. All right, we're down to the final 2 best Nintendo 64 games. If you guys are enjoying the video, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe if you haven't already. I appreciate that. And now, these last 2 games, I think they're going to be most people's top 2 Nintendo 64 games, right? There's really no secret as to which games were like the most popular, and there weren't like a ton of Nintendo 64 games total. Like, you have your legendary few, but there weren't like so many to choose from, so there were only a few standouts. And so it might not surprise you at all what these last 2 games are going to be, but I had to rank them in order somehow. But the game that started it all for me, this was the first 3D video game like I ever laid my eyes on, when my dad set it up and then like brought me up to my room to check it out. And I saw Mario's head popping out of the green pipe and looking around Mushroom Kingdom in Super Mario 64. And that like changed everything. I thought it was so cool to see him like looking around at like the trees and the castle right outside the beginning of the game. And Mario 64 just has incredible soundtrack once again. It has that hub world in the castle, and you go around you jump through the paintings and reach the other worlds, and it's just got so many great memories and so many great stars to collect. I could still play it to this day. I think Odyssey is fantastic, and Mario Galaxy is also really good, but I'll still take Super Mario 64 as my favorite Mario game. And with that, we have my number 1 favorite Nintendo 64 game of all time. It's no secret. You guys probably already know if you watch some of my other videos. It's Ocarina of Time. Just the quintessential adventure game. The peak classic Hero's Tale Zelda game. It's got the classic tale of saving the princess and of the chosen one coming of age and saving the world and everything like that. And honestly, I've been saying this for every game here because, music is a huge, impactful part of why I play and love some video games, right? But this game has like the best soundtrack. I'd say, of any game ever. You know, you got to put it up there with Chrono Trigger and like some Final Fantasies as just the best soundtrack of all time. So memorable in the way that they incorporate the soundtrack into the gameplay with the ocarina, where you get to actually learn some of the melodies and play the songs in the game. And it's just a magical adventure. I have memories with my friends, like each one of us had it on our Nintendo 64s and we were racing to see who could beat it first. And I remember I had the big official like paper guide, which had some really cool artwork. I wish I still had that, but I do not. Ocarina of Time will live on forever as my #1 favorite video game of all time. And I don't think that'll change because it was like the first one to impact me so much. So that's my list. Top 5 favorite and what I think are the best Nintendo 64 games of all time. What are your top 5 Nintendo 64 games? Did you own one growing up as a kid, or do you have like no idea what this system is all about? Let me know in the comments down below, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.